So sections 9.1 and 9.2 in the past were covered right here, but we actually moved those into Unit 3. So we're kind of skipping over, or the worksheet you just did was a review of basically 9.1 and 9.2, where we just talk about exponents and how to write them and what they mean, how to evaluate, order of operations, and that kind of thing. So 9.1 we are skipping to 9.1. We won't have a 9.1 or a 9.2 video. Is all about multiplying and dividing monomials. We do have a sub today, so please make sure that she passed out the unit standard paper that should be going in your math notebook. You need to make sure that that's taped in there for Unit 9 before you start the video notes for 9.3. So your standard here is actually an 8th grade standard because there aren't any 7th grade standards about integer exponents. There are lots of rules and properties that get applied to them, but since next year most of you will be taking algebra, you kind of skip over this standard, and we think it's an important one to know. So the first property, there are lots of properties of exponents that I want you to write down, is called the product of powers property. This says that if you're multiplying powers that have the same base, remember the base is this A, it's the bigger number in a power, you will add their exponents. So if we have a to the m times a to the n, you'll get a to the whatever m plus n is. And you can see in the two examples down here, we have 6 to the 7th times 6 to the 9th, so that's 6 to the 16th. Notice that nothing happens with the 6's. You're not multiplying 6 times 6 to get 36 when 6 is the base. We'll look at some examples later where we have coefficients, and that is a little different. But the second example, 2 squared times 2 to the 4th, and that's 2 to the 6th. So if we broke this down a little bit, if I do 2 squared, that's 2 times 2. And now multiplying it times 2 to the 4th, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Well, if you add up all those 2's, that's 2 to the 6th power. So it's kind of a shortcut way to know how to multiply powers together. So when you have the same base, you add the exponents. So let's look at some examples. Here we're just going to express using exponents, so you don't actually have to evaluate the number. So 4 to the 3rd times 4 to the 5th would be 4 to the 8th, because you add 3 and 5. And number 2, we have 6 times 6 to the 4th. Remember that the 6 has an exponent of 1, so that's 6 to the 5th power. Pretty simple. We can also do it with variables. B squared times B squared is B to the 4th, 2 plus 2. Y to the 6th times Y to the 3rd is Y to the 9th, 6 plus 3. And again, you could kind of string all those variables out and then just count them up yourself, or just add the exponents together. 5 and 6 are a little different because now the monomial has a coefficient, so that's like the number in front of the variable. So this is a little different than what we were doing previously where we weren't multiplying, because here you are going to multiply coefficients. And then you're going to add exponents. So multiplying coefficients, 2 times 8 is 16. And then we have x to the 3rd times x to the 4th, so that's x to the 7th. So we simplify 16x to the 7th. So on number 6 again, we want to multiply 5 times negative 3, that's negative 15. A, we add 2 and 4, a to the 6th. Negative 15, a to the 6th. So that was all multiplying. Now we're also going to talk about dividing, so we kind of do two different properties in this same lesson. When you divide powers that have the same base, you're going to subtract the exponents. So that kind of should make sense. When you multiply, you add, so when you divide, you subtract. So in the example down here, we have 6 to the 7th divided by 6 to the 4th. and that's 6 to the third. And if you want to kind of see this explained a little better, if I have 6 to the 7th power, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I divide it by 6 to the 4th power, kind of like reducing fractions, a 6 on top cancels with a 6 on bottom until you're not left with anything to cancel with, and so then that's 6 to the third. You get the same answer from subtracting. So obviously the subtracting the exponents makes the problem a little easier. So again, let's find the quotient. Remember, that's the answer to a division problem expressed using exponents. So 8 to the 5th over 8 to the 3rd, 5 minus 3 is 8 squared. 3 to the 9th divided by 3 squared is 3 to the 7th, 9 minus 2. Again, you can do the same thing with variables. C to the 7th over C squared is C to the 5th. The 5 comes from 7 minus 2. And B to the 7th over B to the 6th is B to the 1st, or you can just say B. Remember that a variable without an exponent has an implied 1. So those are the two rules. Remember that when you're multiplying, we're going to add, and when you are dividing, you're going to subtract the exponents. I will check this video in class tomorrow, and then we'll work on worksheet 9.3.